you just tell me a bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Mahoganey Jones, founder and CEO of Event Specialist, based here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Been in the industry for a long time. I feel like it's the only job I've ever had, so it's kind of cool to see it come full circle.
Oh, how long have you been in the industry?
So I opened the company back in 2004, but my first job, even like as my first paid job, was actually as an event coordinator for a local hospital back in '97 when I was finishing high school. So now I totally dated myself, but so it really was the only job I had for a long time.
That's nice. Can you share a bit about the company and how you got started as a black-owned business?
Absolutely. So I actually have a science degree, which is very funny, but I always thought events was just a cool way to pay for school and was just going to be what helped me get through university, was going to be that opportunity. When I started working as a kinesiologist and working with the degree that I had, I actually had a mentor who was phenomenal at the time who would ask all these questions like, what are you actually interested in? And it was only then that I thought, oh, maybe I can actually make a career as an event coordinator or an event professional at the time. But because I didn't have a degree in event management. They actually didn't exist when I finished high school or even university. They were just starting. So that what everyone was looking for at the time was more of a PR degree or a marketing degree. And I didn't have either of those. So I wasn't actually able to get an event job, even though I had actually, when I finished university, had 4 years of
Experience.
event management experience and large trade show, which most don't have that experience. So because I wasn't able to get a job, I did what every 20-year-old does and I created a company.
That's really, really impressive. I really like that. That's really impressive. So tell me a bit about your company, what you do, what services you offer.
Absolutely. So we are an event management and production company, in that we're really the key that puts a lot of the details together. So we manage the pieces, we manage platform builds, we manage conferences, meetings. We sit primarily in the corporate space as well as in the medical education space. We also offer production services, which seems to be a little bit less known, except to our regular clients, but we also do a lot of the creative development, event websites, and right down to the content creation for events.
Okay, can you also tell us how it's been promoting event services in Ontario, Canada, and highlight some of the challenges you faced as a black-owned business in Canada?
So as funny as it is, I actually don't really promote in Canada. Um, I seem to be known more, and I say this, we actually don't know where this came from. I'm more known in the US than I am in Canada. And most people actually don't know unless I yell it from the rooftops to say that Event Specialist is actually Canadian owned. And I do make a point of putting a Canadian flag on most things, but I actually don't promote locally. And 90% of our business is actually US based. So for us, it doesn't really showcase. Event specialist doesn't really get showcased as much in Canada, so I can't really speak to that. Being black in the industry for me, um, I can only speak to my experiences growing up in the industry. I always felt like I was the token. So for the Canadian industry events, I actually didn't get asked to speak in Canada for multiple years. I want to say the first time I actually spoke in Canada might have been 5 or 6 years ago, if I'm honest, which is kind of scary for the fact that I am Canadian. But I was only ever asked to speak in Canada when it came to representing someone and looking for a diverse voice, or, I mean, diversity wasn't the term we were using back then. It was more of we need a black voice on a panel. Um, and I actually declined those every time because it was the only time I was ever asked to speak for some of the large Canadian shows. So I just felt like it wasn't appropriate. You weren't really looking for me and to hear my voice. You were really looking to have someone fit your mold and be able to check that checkbox. So
Yeah, that's one of the challenge though. That's one of the challenge, right? Of course. Okay. How has your partnership with our event market impacted your business?
Event market has actually allowed us to have a different presence within the marketplace and within the event space and sphere. It also allowed us a little bit more credibility, if I want to say it that way. I know sometimes, I mean, we all work in multiple platforms, but being able to be listed in a marketplace just shows a little bit more commitment, we'll say, to actually learning a tool and becoming proficient in the tool. It has actually allowed us to continue to grow with some of our, we'll say, medical clients who actually did find us through the marketplace. So that's been very, very great for us.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, can you share a memorable or funny moment related to your experience in the industry?
One of my favorite actual memories is here in Toronto. There was a Canadian event show, and Tess Vismel had actually been asked to speak. And Tess and I had met virtually, but had never actually met in person. And I remember walking past this session room here in Toronto and seeing Tess and literally screaming and running to go see her because I had never actually met her in person. It was kind of creepy for her, I'm sure, to have this Canadian come running down the hall when she's about to give a presentation. But I was so excited to actually meet her in person after meeting her actually on Twitter back in the day.
Oh,
It'll be
okay.
nice.
Let's talk about Black History Month properly. What comes to your mind when you hear Black History Month?
Well, for me, Black History Month in Canada is something that I feel like we don't always speak about. So, here in Canada, our theme is actually Black excellence, a heritage to celebrate and a future to build. And oftentimes, I feel like it's almost as though we glaze over Black History Month, and it seems to be like a ongoing conversation that we get into with our counterparts. With do we really have Black history in Canada versus outside of Canada? So I often like to share that Black History Month in Canada does have a theme, and we do also celebrate. One of the cool things, and actually one of the first events I had the privilege of planning, was a Black History Month celebration in Nova Scotia for Dalhousie University. And it often allows me to reflect on not only how far we've come, but how cool it was for me to be able to be a part of a celebration that brought so much information and community to a campus. So yes, I feel like Black History Month often reminds me of university. It often reminds me that Nova Scotia actually calls it African Heritage Month, but it is planned by the Black History Month organization. So I always found that kind of interesting that we would learn a little bit more of our history. One thing that I will say, and that I also pride myself in making sure that we teach the children as well, and it's important to me that we teach, especially my kids and their friends and kids around, that Black History Month is more than just a month. So yes,
Yes.
we have Black History Month in February, but it is the coldest and the shortest month. So let's be real. But Black history should be celebrated and shared throughout the year. One thing that I also want to make sure that we share when it comes to Black History Month is that we're more than entertainers. We are more than the actors and the rappers and the singers that we see on TV. Um, I mean, I know this is not always the right forum to share this, but I will say that one of the most heartbreaking, and I will say heartbreaking experiences I had as it pertains to Black History Month was having my children come home and being assigned a Black History Month assignment. And it was to do a project on a notable Black person. Not only did they not specify to do history of Black Canadians, but they gave a list to the kids of who to research, and everybody on the list was a rapper, comedian, or singer, none of which
What?
were Canadian. So, to me, one of the things I really want to stress is that there is more to history and there is more to us than just being entertainers.
Yes, we're definitely so much more than just singers, rappers, entertainers. We'll put your message across. Okay. Do you think enough is being done to recognize Black voices, and what do you think can be done better?
If I'm honest, I feel like we were on an uptick where it was important to find the voices and also hold space for Black voices. I do feel like we're in a bit of a challenge where I don't want to say we're at a threat, but it almost seems as though this affirmative action and all of these things where we are trying to showcase more Black voices, and instead of showcasing our voices, it almost seems as though we are now continuing to fight to share our voices again. I feel like we have come a long way in that we are starting to see more of ourselves, but it also, there's still a lot more work to do. And it's important that we support each other as people, support each other within our community, but then also lift each other up and really come together more than just once a month. So we collaborate all year. You are seeing more collaboration of different companies. I know Event Specialist is based on that. We are a collaborative organization based on partnerships. So for me, it is also looking for that. I know we often speak of diversity and making sure that we're hiring diverse and we're looking for things like that. If I'm honest, I'm actually not very diverse in the hiring here at Event Specialists. My goal is to usually find seats as much as possible for people who look like me. So I will say, as long as we are continuing to move in these directions and continuing to hold space for each other, I mean, initiatives like Black in Events has been amazing for us, and then also different features. Um, but I feel like these features need to happen outside of Black History Month, not just within Black
Not
History
just
Month, because then it almost defeats the purpose.
yes, I totally agree with you. Okay, so this is the last and final question for the interview. What is your best piece of advice to young Black men and women?
Don't be afraid to use your voice, and then don't be afraid to be great. I feel like we're often put into molds and to buckets to play into what it means to be Black. And to me, yes, being Black is beautiful, but we can lean more into everything that we have to offer and not be afraid to be great. It is okay to be you. It is okay to hold space for yourself and for others in the society.
Thank you so much for doing the interview. It was really good to see you. I can't wait to see you in person. I would really love to meet you in person.
Thank you so much.